Bob, post-game, we talked about the running game and the impact there. Last week, we talked about this offensive line. You sent a fairly inexperienced group out there against, a pretty talented front seven from Lafayette. When you've looked back at the film, obviously they perform pretty well because you're not getting all those rushing yards. But when you looked at it a little more detailed, how pleased were you with the performance of that group?
Yeah, the big point I made last week is we practice every day against our defensive line, and that prepares us. And we've worked really hard, and we're one of the better D lines that we'll see, in terms of that. So that really helps. I thought we played really well as a group. Mason and Richard Bush did a great job directing traffic, getting us to the right guys. We played really hard. And I thought for the most part we were thick on our blocks, both in the run game and pass game.
The pass game, I thought that you obviously made some big completions when you needed them. The third down to Lovett at the end of the game, the long third down to Barnes. But on the other hand, I definitely think you can see that could be a lot sharper moving forward, whether it's decisions in the passing or just dropped passes. How did you come away about thinking about the pass game?
Yeah, some of it was precision. We weren't as sharp as we could be with our routes. We weren't as sharp as we be with our accuracy, and then our decisions. And some of those things, we work really hard at practice on. And every great quarterback I've been around, and college football, Matt Lefevre still holds records as the highest pass efficiency rating in the history of college football. And it's very difficult to break the habit that when it's 18 yards to go or 3rd and 8, you have to throw a 9-yard pass. You can throw a check down. And it took 4 years to get through to Matt. He was a 4-year starter. And I saw it at the NFL level with some high-level quarterbacks that takes time. And, I'm really confident that the quarterbacks will get that part added to our game. We will catch the ball better. That was quite uncharacteristic of how we played and practiced. And we'll be more precise. And we have to, because if we're going to be a really good offense, there's got to be balance.
Defensively, we talked about it last week. You were sending new cornerbacks out there, and Fox and Gales. And, Lafayette went at them. And I thought we saw a much better performance in the second half than from the first half. They picked on them on a couple of those scoring drives. Did you feel like they just kind of settled down a little first start jitters and because it seemed like they were starting to play the ball a little bit better in the second half?
Yeah, our coverage was terrific. We were an aggressive defensive unit, and we've been very fortunate to have the same starting corners for the last 3 years. But Marcus and James Gales, the difference between Gaffney and Hill to those guys, it wasn't like this. It was tight. We had to make tough decisions on who was going to start. And it's the same way with Chance Melanson, who came in and filled in and did a really good job on Saturday. But where the coverage was tight, the ball playing, it just wasn't as good as it needs to be. And it's something we've worked really hard on at camp. We worked hard on this week, and we have to improve because we don't want to sit vanilla and play cover 2 all day. That there's some great things about that, but being able to disguise coverages and get in and out of coverages makes the game plan that Coach Salgado and Coach Verbit and those guys are running much easier.
Probably makes it easier when you're putting Kurt Halub and Ty Desiree back on the field. You could see their impact immediately.
Yeah, and Schlossberg and Brandon Jones. And, we got a pretty deep front. And I thought that's, how we rotated those guys in and out and utilized them. It kept us fresh. And, I thought those guys played really well. And for us to be good, we got to get good performance up front. Because, no better test than this week, right? Lehigh's as good an offense as, I've seen on video what they did with Penn.
And we talk, you have a quarterback like Drew Reed from Lafayette who can sit in the pocket and scan the field and find the open guy and pick you apart that way. And now you're going to somebody like Nick Shafniski, who you saw last year, and Penn saw a lot of last weekend, somebody who's pretty capable of beating you with his arm and his legs. Different challenge, but somebody who obviously is going to bring a lot of confidence into this weekend.
Yeah, he's a tremendous player. They really have a lot of scheme. They're very well. They execute very well. They're dynamic at their skill spots. And if you 3-man rush him, they protect and he throws the ball down the field. You 4-man rush and you get pressure. If you're out of a pass rush lane, he scrambles and makes plays. And then, he just has a really good knack for finding the open guy, getting the ball out on time, and we saw it last year, and those receivers are back. They got exceptional receivers, and their running back's dynamic. A lot like Charlie Volker, speed-wise, strength-wise.
The defensive performance, I mean, it looked in the first half like that was going to be a shootout, and then clearly Lehigh made some adjustments against Torgerson, against Watson. When their defense is clicking, what are they doing?
Well, they run to the ball. They are so well coached, and they pursue the ball. I mean, as an opponent's coach, you have so much respect for teams who run to the ball like that, who pursue the ball, who play with such great energy and effort. And we talk to our guys. We have to have a unbelievable energy ourselves and make it a test of wills that way, because there's not many teams I've seen in the last 6-7 years that run to the ball like they do. They are fast, they are athletic, and they are physical.
After the game, we talked about just gritting out a win. I mean, Princeton lost a lot of close games last year. That was especially the case on the road. Of those 4 road games you lost, 3 of them were really undecided up until the final minute. What does it take to win that tough game on the road, and are you seeing qualities of that kind of team right now?
Yeah, every week's a new challenge, right? And who knows how this week will unfold, and you get the same opportunities. But to have, I think there's over 5 minutes to go, and to run the clock out with a team with 3 timeouts, that's tremendous execution, tremendous heart, tremendous grit, qualities that we want to show. Now, it was one game, right? That game's over with. So we got to put that to bed and move on. And, we know the challenge we have this week. This is a legit playoff team we're playing this week.